Hi, this is 2018 Macroeconomics FRQ question number 1. 3 things briefly. If you have not attempted this question on your own, please do that first before completing this video. 2, if my explanation is unsatisfactory, please let me know and I'm happy to try to explain it a different way. And 3, if there's any other question on the 2018 FRQ or another FRQ you'd like me to explain, please let me know. I'm happy to do so. Alright, moving on. There's only a couple things I want to talk about here. First thing is, and I appreciate most of you probably know this, the Eurozone, and I'll show you a quick map. Countries that use the Euro. This down here, a relationship that AP wants to have you burned into your brain, is that as we decrease output, as real GDP decreases, unemployment will increase. In real life, it's a little bit more complicated, and that doesn't always hold true in the same way, but anytime we move closer to the y-axis, to the left of LRIS, we're going to have an increase in unemployment. And moving to D. Now this is a little bit tricky. The question is fundamentally about what happens when we have fiscal policy and monetary policy happening at the same time. In this question, we're both talking about expansionary monetary and fiscal policies. And before we get to 1, 2, and 3, it's probably worth reviewing exactly what we're talking about again. So fiscal policy, perhaps the biggest thing to remember, or the first thing to remember rather, is taxes, which are positive. So that's inflows, income for the government, minus government spending, which is an outflow. So we could say it's negative. This gets us our budget situation for the United States or for any country. If what they collect in taxes is greater than what they spend as a government, we say typically they have a surplus. If what they spend in taxes, what they receive in taxes and what they spend as a government is equal, we say they have a balanced budget. And if what they spend is greater than what they receive in taxes, we say they have a deficit. So for fiscal policy, an expansionary fiscal policy at that, we assume that the government is going to spend more and or they're going to decrease taxes. So taxes would affect consumption or IG. Less taxes for households and firms probably means that they are going to spend more. At least that's the relationship that they would like you to believe in. Now, one thing to note is that when we have government spending more, or we have taxes being less, it raises the distinct possibility, and again in real life more complicated, but in AP, distinct possibility that the government will have to borrow money. So anytime you see expansionary fiscal policy, always think there is a distinct possibility that demand for loanable funds will shift right, which, if you recall, will result in the real interest rate increasing. Okay. That's the fiscal side of things. Now the monetary side of things, money supply will shift to the right, therefore the nominal interest rate will decrease. Now you'll notice that this, and I'll change the color to make it a little bit more obvious, this and this are moving in opposite directions, and that's where the rub comes for this question here. So going back to these questions, aggregate demand in the US, aggregate demand will increase, will shift right. Because the cumulative effect of these two things is to expand, so AD we assume will still move to the right, which will cause the price level to increase. And interest rates we're unsure. And your explanation would be fiscal policy will lead to potentially an increase in demand for loanable funds, causing the nominal interest rate, the real interest rate to increase, while at the same time, the expansionary monetary policy will cause an increase in the money supply, which will decrease the nominal interest rate and encourage, in this case, encourage C or IG to increase their interest-sensitive spending. So we're not quite sure what's going to happen with the interest rate. We're not sure which effect is larger, but we do know that aggregate demand or the price level will increase.